Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be doing the Arboretum update for the year. This year, we're going to take a look at the trees that are out there now, how they're doing, and we got some new ones to add. So we got a few trees. Again, Greg sent me some more this year. John sent me a couple as well. So we'll get those planted and into the Arboretum. I think at this point, it's just you guys that send me trees every year that kind of keep this alive and going, because I have not had the time or energy to really do much of anything out here. So all the trees that have been added have come from other people. So I started this little project in 2021 when we sold our old house, and I brought with me this walnut tree that we're walking towards here and a box elder that's over that hill. And the idea here is to have a collection of various tree species in different states of growth, I guess, from sapling through fully mature. There's a lot of what I do, like, kind of works on the other end of a tree's life after it's dead, and I cut up its body and dehydrate it and then turn it into something. So to have living specimens that exist only to be a living specimen of a tree is I think it's kind of neat and fun. So the first stop is the walnut. This is the most sentimental tree that I have here in the collection. Last year it was somewhere in this area of the tubes, and then this year it is now pop up top. So it's doing extremely well. It's taken well to this spot. It's taken really well to the rough transplanting that it had, because I decided to do this in the heat of the moment and dug the whole thing out of the ground with my bare hands. So I think next year it'll be well out of the top of that tube, and it'll be well on to starting to establish a canopy or what have you. It's right around, I don't know, 6.5 feet tall right now, so it'll probably be well over 8 next year. Okay, from here we're going to walk over to the trees that I planted last year that Greg sent. And he sent me a few trees that don't normally grow here in my climate. He sent me a couple of sycamores and a couple of Osage orange. This sycamore here is still a stick. It didn't make it through the shipping process, didn't leaf out last year. I planted it anyway just in case, but I don't really think it's alive. So we will pull the stake out and use it for a different tree. Okay, over to these guys. I was actually really surprised when I walked over here a couple weeks ago, sorry, to take a look at these guys, because I wasn't expecting these to still have any sort of life to them. This is the second time that we tried Osage, and this guy is still alive, still thorny, and still scary, and somehow managed to escape its grow tube. The other Osage is over there, and then this sycamore here is green and leafing out. So somehow they made it through a winter, although this past winter we had was extremely mild, at least for us, but we still did have a solid, typical, very cold spell. So they did survive a normal, I guess, cold spell, just not a prolonged all winter cold. So I don't know if that makes a difference or if they're going to be fine now. So we'll see again, and we'll see if they make it through a winter next year. I don't think I've shown the box elder for a few years, but it's still going. It's still doing its thing. It needs a little bit of a pruning. I can already tell it's got too many leaders going on. But it's in there, it's happy, it's alive. That's our box elder sample. And we're gonna walk over to these other two up here towards the front. These were some little tiny saplings I found along the driveway a few years ago, or a couple of years ago, and brought them down in here. And we'll see if these guys have survived, I guess. This one found some friends. Oh, it escaped the tube. Here it is. I'll have to move the tube over, but there's that, I think it's a chestnut oak. So since it's still here, I think for this guy this year, we'll go ahead and we'll get all this grass out of the way and give it a much bigger area so it's not competing with all this grass. Since now I know for sure it's at least making it this far or for this long. This one up here I believe is a maple tree, and it looks like it didn't make it. There's leaves from it. I don't know if it's still alive or not. We're gonna leave this alone, I guess. Maybe it'll come back. And then lastly, there is this green ash tree, which was already here. And we will come back to this thing later on. So those are the current trees. So let's go get the new ones and start planting. Okay, here's what's going in this year. I guess we'll call these guys the class of 2024. These are a couple of ginkgo trees. These were sent to me by John. He said these are his favorite ornamental trees, and he wanted to see them included in the Arboretum, so we gotta find a good spot for those. These are the trees that Greg sent this year. This is his third time sending trees, and I think all three of these should survive here. I think we're within the range of these trees. So we got a Norway spruce, which is the first evergreen that we'll be planting in the Arboretum, aside from the ones that border all the red pines that border the whole Arboretum over there, and there's a white pine down there. This is a pin oak. We got two of those here. We got a little skinny one and a little bigger, thicker bodied one here. These were up by the house, and the deer were already grazing this one. And then this is black locust, I think. Is that what it was? Yes, black locust. It looks like only one of them made it. This is a kind of a dead looking stick thing. So like last year with the sycamore, I'll plant this one too just in case, but this one for sure is alive. So we'll find a good spot for those. But first, while I'm here at the walnut tree, we're going to do a little bit of maintenance work here. I got the dust collection barrel, so we got some nice white oak sawdust. So we'll clean up some of this grass, remulch it, and then work our way down. I think we'll go ahead and mulch in the trees that survived last year. You know, we're gonna do that one down there. And I think for these ones, I don't even know where we're gonna go yet. I'm thinking more towards the fence line, just past the ash and the other trees I planted last year, kind of around there. But we'll see. Okay, on to the next one. This one's gonna get another tube, since it's gonna get out the top of that one pretty soon. You can buy these in all different lengths. So I know ideally you buy the super tall ones so the deer can't get them at any point. But the problem with that is then you can't like look and see what the heck the tree's doing. So I have some of the super tall ones. I have a bunch of these small ones. I found just like stacking the small ones as you go is kind of nice for these small ones. They're going to take a few years to kind of get up there. And that you actually want to, keep an eye on. And the kids like it better when they can actually look down and see how the tree's doing. It's one of the things I like to do when we go around the property for our evening walk is I climb the little gates around that walnut tree and look down into the top of the tube and see where the tree's at. So it makes it fun for the kids at least. And you know, I'm basically just a big kid anyway, so if the kids like it, it means I must like it. Yeah, I pulled the tube off of this Osage to kind of get a better look at it and give it a bit of a pruning. I know Osage is supposed to be like a bush, but I kind of wanted to get some height first before it actually bushes out. So this thing's actually looking like it's doing pretty well. It's surprisingly happy here, I think. Holy crap, I forgot how prickly these things are. So prickly. So the main leader here must have just gotten knocked somehow at some point. So now it's shooting off all kinds of new stuff. I'm trying to find something, probably this guy, to keep. And I'll put a bigger tube on it now instead of just stacking a few of them, since it is, holy crap, that's sharp. Since it's kind of tall now. Okay, we'll do that. All right, so that's all three of them. I just finished up that one. That's the sycamore, Osage orange, and the other Osage orange is here. So I think I'm gonna start planting the new ones next. And I'm thinking I'm gonna put the pin oak along this fence line here. You can see the T-posts kind of sticking out of the grass. That's the property line. So I think I'll put the big one kind of over in that area there with the thought that it should grow to be pretty big and kind of overhang onto the adjacent property, which is a nature preserve. And then we really haven't put anything down the very front towards the road yet. So I think since the ginkgo trees are such beautiful ornamental trees, we're going to plant them right there in front of that front fence so you can see them as you're driving by. Yeah, I gotta come back and get the camera. I left my shovel somewhere. Ugh. Got it. At least it's a nice day. One of the other reasons I haven't shot this video till now, it's later in the month. Normally I shoot it early June. Is it's been raining like non-stop for 2 weeks. It's like our first week of no rain. It's June 26th today. Let's see. Okay, this is where you're gonna live, Mr. Pin Oak. Okay, there is that bigger pin oak. It's it's gonna need another tube very soon, so I'll do that later. I just have enough tubes for the trees I have right now. So let's move on to ginkgo. I'm gonna go out there by the street where those fence boards are leaning up against the fence. I was just driving along here, and off to the side is a walnut tree. So I don't have enough tubes for it, but we're gonna keep it. I'm gonna throw a stake on it for now, so I don't forget about it. I still have to put those fence boards back. A year ago, we had our service swapped out to underground, and that was when we had the service run for the barn and everything. So now you can see the underground wire coming up out of the ground, going up the pole and tying in. It used to be overhead from here up to the house. Anywho, I think the first one's gonna go kind of over in the corner right here, and then the other one I will put probably right in front of here somewhere. Okay, that's one. This one's gonna go right here. I think we'll put the black locust right here. We're like partially up the driveway now into these red pines, and I'm gonna plant that second pin oak right here in the middle of these 5 red pines. And the idea there is that as the tree grows, it's growing up into this little hole in the canopy. So in theory, you should grow a really straight, tall tree. So it's almost like the tree is like in this giant grow tube all the way up. So once it gets out of the grow tube, it'll still be seeking that hole of sunlight at the tippy top there. So it should have less inclination to branch out and more inclination to go straight up. I gotta get some taller tubes, but the only one I have left is too short for this one. So it turned out I only had one more tube left, so I went back and put a tube on that walnut. So that one's got a tube on it, and I'll have to buy some more tubes. And I also got back to the beginning and realized that I still had that spruce to plant, so I will plant that after I do this next thing. We're going to treat this ash tree for emerald ash borer, EAB, emerald ash borer. Over the last few years since I've shown this ash tree in the Arboretum, people have asked, like, how is it not succumbed to the emerald ash borer yet? And Well, we only got the ash borer officially here, I think in 2019, and I didn't see any ash trees killed until this year, which is absolutely crazy, because last year the ash trees were fine. They were fully leafed out, they were fully healthy looking, they looked fine. I didn't do this last year because I figured I still had time, but I don't. We have a large number of ash trees in the only wooded part of the property out by the house there, and none of them leafed out this year. I was like, what the heck? They were absolutely fine last year. I was going to treat everything this year, and they're done. So somehow this one being out in the middle of a field made it survive more. I've got another 2 just over yonder that I'll treat as well that are still alive, but the ones in the forest completely gone. So that sucks. And you can see how sad this one looks. It hasn't really leafed out that much. It's starting to die back. The extents of all the limbs, the leaves are tiny, and some of them don't have any leaves yet. This tree should be super full and super green, but it's not. It's very sparse. And you can tell, towards the top, less growth, and on the bottom, there's more. So what do you think, Pancake? Dr. Pancake? Tree Dr. Pancake? Running away from the problem, I see. So this is the insecticide that we'll use for this, and we'll go through and figure out the directions to treat the trees. I got these little spring-loaded plunger things. You can spend all kinds of money on injection systems if you want. Those little plungers are about 20 bucks a piece. The downside is you gotta leave them in there until they finish injecting, whereas some of the other ones are gonna go a lot faster, so you can get in and out and on to the next job if you're doing it professionally. But if you're just treating some trees on your own property, it's not a big deal to come and move syringes as you go. The actual bottle of insecticide I think was like $450 or something like that, and I got about $100 in the syringes. So this insecticide works very similarly to if you see me apply Boracare to slabs. It basically makes the tree poisonous to anything trying to consume it. So in this case, if there are any larvae living in this tree, the insecticide will kill them. If any beetles try to burrow in here and lay eggs, they will die as well in that process. The directions will tell you how much total milliliters of product to use for the type of thing you're trying to treat for, in our case EAB, and then it will tell you based off of the diameter or breast height of the tree how much total product to use. And since it needs to be injected around the entire tree, it'll also tell you how many injection sites you need. So you take the total amount of product for that diameter breast height tree, divided by the total number of injection sites, and that is how much product to put into each of the syringes. A little hole gets drilled, the syringe gets shoved into the hole, and then I can turn the handle a little bit to engage the spring. So since this tree is kind of this weird clumpy thing, I'm treating each of the stems kind of independently. So I'll measure and inject each one. So I only bought 5 injectors, so I'll let this one sit here for a bit, and I'll come back and do this little tiny one and then the actual big one back there. I'm just coming back to check on these now. It's been 3 hours and the plungers are fully, whatever you want to call it, back in all the way. The plungers are all the way down and in, so I'm not really sure how long it took for all that to go in, but at least 3 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and do the next section of this tree. Okay, that round is all set and ready to go. So I will have to do one more round of injections, and this guy should be good. So I was just out for my evening stroll, and the syringes were ready to be moved. and that was an hour and a half. So I don't know, probably like an hour per syringe to actually fully go in. So now with this one done, I can keep moving through. I can treat the other two in this field. There's another one in the tree line kind of behind me. So there's the two kind of back in there, and then there's one in that tree line over there that's still alive. Interestingly enough though, every ash tree on this side of the property is dead. I don't know what it is. There's like 15 or 20 of them over there that have died that didn't leaf out this year, and the ones over here have leafed out, but they're just not looking so hot. So I'm not really sure, maybe because these are like so far removed from all the other ones, it took longer for the beetles to find them, versus in the woods, the trees are all concentrated close together, so it's a faster hop for the bugs to get between. I don't really know. I have the spruce to plant, and I'll plant that tomorrow. I think I'm going to plant it up there. I have a few more of these gates up there that I can use as a little cage around it, and that one will live up in there. So I'm going to continue along on my walk here around the property and enjoy my night, and we'll check in on our trees next June like we always do. So thanks again to Greg and John for sending out some trees this year and forcing me to keep this thing going. At the very least, you know, I have to make this video every year, so it's sort of baked in that I spend at least one day a year on this project, which kind of helps to keep it from totally being off the list of things to do. And I'm sure you'll see a lot of those dead ash trees in the future be cut and brought onto the sawmill. So that's going to do it for this year. Thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments on the Arboretum, the trees that are meant to be just trees to be looked at and not there for any other purpose, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.